sports and find out where are they now.
As we look back on more than 50 years of broadcasting high school sports in the Kankakee Valley here on WKVI Radio, our guest is Phil Tom, a 1971 graduate of West Central High School. And Phil was with us last week and talked about a lot of the things that he did in high school and after high school. And we had to have him back because he's got some other stories to tell, and so we want to welcome Phil back to talk about some of his other ventures. You are very involved now in Las Vegas in the golf world as the founder of a major golf tournament there in Las Vegas. Tell us about that, and tell us how you got involved in golf in Las Vegas.
Well, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, although not really. Again, I grew up in Francisville, the youngest of six, and the reason I think I got 13 varsity letters, which is pretty hard to get, is because I played against my older brother's friends. But I was 4 years younger than my next brother, Bob. And so I'm in the backyard, in the front yard. I'm playing fantasy games all day long by myself. And I'm even making the crowd noise and everything else. And I did see where Jordan Spieth did this with his brother in Texas a lot, chipping over the house and playing the Masters and everything and dropping 5 or 6 balls and being Raymond Floyd and Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and everything all by yourself and everything in the yard. So I did that. I did this by the hours, you know. I bought a house in Seattle. On a half an acre on the lake. And I designed like 3 holes like I normally did wherever I lived. And then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd think, I could put a couple holes up there on the street, or I could redevelop this one area of the yard and I could put a couple holes in there. Long story short, 1998 I bought the house, and in 2000, 2.5 years later, I had 18 holes on that half an acre. And from day one, I called it Golf Fifth Major. And first year we had like 15 players show up. The winner got a Royal Blue Jacket. And immediately I affiliated it with Make-A-Wish, so any contributions went to a charity. And after 4 years, we went from like 15, 35, 45, and 55 players.
Wow.
So especially a lot of the married guys in Seattle, they love this thing. You come over, so if you had 55 golfers, at that time, half of the golfers would make the field, would make the cut, and then you'd play another 18 holes to see who would win the Royal Blue Jacket. I had zero intention of moving this tournament down to Las Vegas when I moved down here in 2004. But I moved down here with a full acre. So it's twice as big. Still a big house on it. But and this course down here only took maybe 4 months to design, and it's almost the same design as I did in 2004. I'm probably the only residential golf course designer in the world, because if you Google it, there's no such profession. What I'm doing here should be duplicated not only maybe at least 50 times in Las Vegas, but it should be in every city in America. I met Howard Schultz, the owner of Starbucks, or the founder of Starbucks, years ago in Seattle. And he proved that every cup of coffee in America was stale, because, you get Folgers or something out of the grocery store, and it had been roasted like 2 years or something, Yeah. But I've proven to myself and to everybody who comes and plays the Lakeshore is nobody in America, or nobody in most of the cities in the world, are actually using their yard. I'm in my yard every day that I'm in town. And if you go to the most nicest areas of almost every city, the only people you might see in the front yard is a landscaper or something. But we go along here, and about 7 or 8 years ago, because I always said this was Golf's Fifth Major, so I hired a couple attorneys, and we went to the web and everything else to see if anybody owned Golf's Fifth Major. And incredibly, they don't, because somebody owns almost everything now. So you have to wait 1.5 years, 2 years, or something like that, see if anybody protests it or contests it. And long story short, I trademarked Golf's Fifth Major about 7-8 years ago. Now, what my game plan is, Harold, is Brandon Chambly and everybody keeps talking about the TPC being Golf's fifth major. I want the PGA to officially do it to help their ratings, which I think they're going to. 2019, we had 108 golfers in the yard. You're playing in threesomes, and then the top 21 in ties make the cut, and I have front and back tees. It's the most difficult course in the world. It's one club, just like Study Ballesteros' father taught him with one club. He taught his son, Javier Ballesteros, how to play the game with one club. That's how golf should be played. One golf club, one ball. Ball shouldn't be going 500 yards, and the club shouldn't be so aerodynamic that everybody can hit at 300. But it's
How many acres is this course?
One.
That's incredible.
It's like riding a bike or something. You almost have to play it to really see, I think, the beauty and the uniqueness of it. The University of Las Vegas has one of the best golf teams in the country every year. They won the Nationals a time or two. But their assistant coach every year brought over the top 5 golfers starting like in 2012 or something like that. And these kids would come over and, I'd play 36 with them. None of them can beat me without any practice rounds. And sometimes I'd stay here and play 90 holes. They'd be laughing, and and the coach would say, "Oh my word, they're really enjoying the game here for the first time in a while." But they'd come over all the time, and there's a lot of stories about them coming. There's a lot of stories about the Lakeshore here, where I've had Charlie Hoffman and a number of pros play here, and it's so funny because I'll come over here and I'll say, "All right, well, the first round, I can beat anybody that hasn't played the course, I believe." Especially 36 holes, and I'll give him 15 shots. Jeff Gallagher, he's a pro. He came here a few years ago. We played the front side. He shot 18 over, and he said, "Phil, I didn't get one green in regulation because the greens are only about 3 or 4 feet in diameter." And then if you played the tips, he played another 18 holes in the tips, and again did not get one green in regulation, and that's for an awful good ball striker.
We're talking with Phil Tom, a 1971 graduate of West Central High School, here on our Where Are They Now segment.